Rocky Marciano is the featured boxer in this edition of the Top 5 Notable Wins series. To this day, Marciano remains the only heavyweight world champion to retire undefeated and maintain that flawless record. This unique accomplishment has solidified his place in boxing history. While there might be differing opinions about which of his victories were the most significant, I believe the choices here are fairly clear. Let's take a chronological look at what I consider to be the Top 5 Notable Wins during the illustrious career of the Brockton blockbuster. October 26, 1951. Madison Square Garden, New York. On this date, the undefeated rising contender Rocky Marciano stepped into the ring to face the legendary former heavyweight champion, Joe Louis. The bout began strategically, with Marciano searching for opportunities to work inside. Meanwhile, Louis expertly tied Marciano up when the challenger got too close, successfully neutralizing much of Marciano's early offense. Louis found success at mid-range, landing solid punches as Marciano attempted to close the distance or reset his position. Despite Marciano's efforts to mix up his attacks, Louis was using his experience and defensive skills to evade and counter effectively. However, as the fight progressed, Marciano's relentless pressure began to pay off. By the middle rounds, Marciano was connecting more frequently with powerful punches to both the head and body. His determination to fight in close quarters was wearing Louis down, and Rocky's accuracy improved significantly. Though Louis continued to demonstrate solid defense and tactical prowess, the younger and fresher Marciano was beginning to take control. In the 8th round, Marciano turned up the intensity. He landed a series of heavy blows, including a perfectly timed left hook that sent Louis to the canvas. The former champion, though visibly fatigued, managed to get back on his feet. Marciano, however, was relentless, unleashing a barrage of powerful punches. Eventually, he landed a crushing right hand that sent Louis through the ropes. Referee Ruby Goldstein stopped the fight, awarding Marciano an emphatic 8th-round stoppage victory. September 23rd, 1952, Municipal Stadium, Philadelphia. In this clash, reigning heavyweight champion Jersey Joe Walcott defended his title against the undefeated Rocky Marciano. From the opening bell, Walcott came out strong, launching fast, precise combinations that tested the challenger. Early in the first round, Walcott connected with a devastating left hook, forcing Marciano to hold on to recover. Moments later, Walcott struck again with another powerful left hook, dropping Marciano to the canvas. The challenger rose to his feet before the count ended, and Walcott looked to capitalize on the knockdown. However, Marciano showed resilience, tying up the champion and closing the distance to limit Walcott's offensive opportunities. As the fight wore on, Marciano began to find his rhythm. His relentless pressure forced Walcott into a more defensive posture, and Marciano's punches began to take their toll. Walcott continued landing crisp counters, but Marciano's persistence gradually shifted the momentum in his favor. The turning point came in the 13th round. After a grueling battle of attrition, Marciano landed one of the most iconic punches in heavyweight history, a thunderous right hand that knocked Walcott out cold. The punch ended the fight instantly, making Marciano the new heavyweight champion and securing his legacy with one of the most dramatic finishes in the sport. The fight featured several intense, short exchanges where Marciano skillfully closed the distance to prevent the champion, Jersey Joe Walcott, from establishing his range. As the bout progressed, both fighters frequently traded sharp, punishing blows in close quarters, maneuvering for better positioning and creating openings to land clean shots. Marciano remained relentless in his attacks, while Walcott displayed impressive evasive skills, often slipping punches and countering with crisp, accurate strikes. The exchanges in tight quarters were grueling, with both men absorbing significant punishment while dishing out their own heavy shots. Walcott worked to maintain his distance using a sharp jab, while Marciano constantly looked to cut off the ring and close the gap. Despite Marciano's relentless pressure, Walcott was winning the tactical battle, keeping Marciano at bay and landing the more effective punches. The later rounds saw brutal action as both fighters unleashed massive shots. Walcott, showcasing his ring IQ and craftiness, landed a series of well-timed counters, frustrating Marciano, who missed his mark on several occasions. Marciano began relying more on his jab to find openings, but Walcott's defensive movement continued to cause him trouble. Then, in the 13th round, with Walcott attempting to set a trap to land a powerful right hand, Marciano's explosive right got there first. Walcott fell to one knee, one arm draped over the ropes, before collapsing completely to the canvas. He was out cold, and referee Charlie Daggett counted him out. With that thunderous punch, Rocky Marciano became the new heavyweight champion of the world. At the time of the knockout, all three judges had Walcott ahead on the scorecards. On September 24, 1953, at the Polo Grounds in New York City, Marciano defended his title in a rematch against Roland La Starza. The two had first met over 3 years earlier, with Marciano narrowly winning a split decision, aided by a supplemental point system used in New York at the time. In the rematch, La Starza fought intelligently early on, building an early lead by using effective movement, keeping Marciano at range and tying him up whenever the champion got too close. La Starza controlled the distance, exhibited strong defense, and consistently made Marciano miss. Marciano struggled to ignite his offense, as La Starza's strategy neutralized much of his trademark aggression. However, as the fight reached the midway point of the scheduled 15 rounds, Marciano began to apply pressure more effectively. Though La Starza still had the right game plan, he was no longer able to execute it with the same precision. Marciano's relentless aggression began to overwhelm his opponent, and he started landing powerful, jolting punches with increasing frequency. Rocky Marciano seized control of the momentum with increasing regularity, finding favorable angles to launch his attacks. In the 11th round, Marciano backed Roland La Starza against the ropes and unleashed a brutal combination that sent the challenger to the canvas. Although La Starza managed to rise, Marciano immediately pounced, delivering a relentless barrage of punches. Referee Ruby Goldstein stepped in to stop the fight, awarding Marciano an 11th round technical knockout victory. On September 17, 1954, at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, New York, Marciano defended his title in an immediate rematch against former champion Ezzard Charles. Earlier that year, Marciano had defeated Charles by a 15-round decision, making Charles the only challenger to take The Rock the full championship distance. In the rematch, Marciano looked to establish dominance early, but Charles effectively neutralized his offense. Charles worked to maintain range, using his jab to keep Marciano at bay, while also crowding Rocky when the action shifted to close quarters. In the second round, Marciano landed a few powerful right hands, one of which sent Charles to the canvas. The former champion quickly got back to his feet and managed to fend off Marciano's follow-up assault. Charles tried to re-establish his rhythm on the outside, but Marciano continued closing the distance, often landing the more effective punches. In the 6th round, Charles opened a cut on Marciano's nose, and the sight of blood seemed to rejuvenate Charles's energy as he began targeting the wound. Both fighters engaged in tactical exchanges, maneuvering for advantageous positions. After the 7th round, Marciano's corner warned him they couldn't stop the bleeding. This urgency lit a fire in the champion, and he came out with renewed intensity. In the 8th round, Marciano landed a thunderous right hand that dropped Charles once again. Although Charles managed to get back up, he was visibly shaken. Marciano unleashed a furious combination, finishing with a devastating left hand that sent Charles to the mat for good. Charles was unable to beat the count, and Marciano secured an emphatic 8th round knockout. On September 21, 1955, again, at Yankee Stadium, Marciano put his title on the line against light heavyweight champion Archie Moore. From the opening bell, Moore aimed to keep the fight at long range, utilizing his sharp jab and footwork. Meanwhile, Marciano worked tirelessly to close the distance and create openings for his heavy punches. The experienced Moore, known as the Old Mongoose, demonstrated his boxing acumen, using feints and angles to frustrate Marciano's offense. However, the relentless pressure from Marciano began wearing Moore down as the rounds progressed. Archie Moore, a masterful technician, started the fight as a real smooth operator, keeping Marciano off balance in the early rounds. In the first round, Moore caught Rocky with a sharp counter-right, sending the champion to the canvas. However, Marciano quickly got back to his feet, showing no signs of serious damage. The fight soon developed into a tactical battle, with both fighters maneuvering for control on the inside. Marciano aimed to position himself to deliver powerful shots, while Moore worked to create space and gain the advantage at mid-range, where his technical skills shone. Marciano constantly tried to trap Moore against the ropes, landing effective punches whenever he succeeded. But Moore, known as the Old Mongoose, demonstrated excellent defensive skills, slipping many of Marciano's punches and countering with precise, well-timed shots. In the 6th round, Marciano landed a thunderous right hand that sent Moore to the canvas. Moore managed to get back up, but he appeared unsteady. What followed was a remarkable display of endurance from Marciano and an incredible show of heart and determination from Moore. Marciano once again pinned Moore to the ropes, and the two champions traded punches in a furious exchange. Marciano began wearing Moore down, and a crushing right hand sent Moore to the canvas for a second time. Despite the relentless onslaught, Moore showed incredible resilience, rising to his feet and continuing to fight back. But by this point, Marciano had seized complete control, and Moore struggled to turn the tide. In the 11th round, another devastating right hand dropped Moore for the 3rd time. Again, the courageous Moore stood up and fought on, but the accumulated damage was evident. In the 9th round, Marciano unleashed a flurry of powerful punches, punctuated by a brutal double left hook that floored Moore for the 4th and final time. This time, Moore could not beat the count. The fight ended with a dramatic 9th-round knockout for Rocky Marciano in what would be the last fight of his illustrious career. If I were to rank Marciano's top 5 victories, the number 1 spot would undoubtedly go to his win over Jersey Joe Walcott to claim the heavyweight championship. That fight was a true test of willpower and endurance, culminating in a dramatic, come-from-behind knockout that remains one of the most iconic moments in boxing history. Second place would be his victory over Archie Moore. Moore was an extraordinarily skilled boxer with slick defense and a clever offense, but Marciano's relentless pressure proved too much, showcasing his ability to outlast and overpower even the most gifted opponents. At number 3, I'd place Marciano's rematch against Ezzard Charles. Charles, the only man to ever take Marciano the full 15-round distance, was a crafty and determined challenger. In the rematch, Marciano dominated and secured a decisive knockout, solidifying his superiority over the talented former champion. In 4th place is the rematch with Roland Lastarza. Many believed Lastarza deserved the decision in their first encounter, but Marciano left no doubt the second time around. After a slow start, Marciano turned up the heat, taking control and proving his dominance with a late stoppage. Finally, in 5th place, I'd rank his win against the legendary Joe Louis. While Louis was past his prime and no longer the dominant force he once was, he was still a formidable opponent and heavily favored going into the fight. The victory over Louis is significant because it added the great champion's name to Marciano's resume and highlighted Marciano's ability to prevail against a revered figure in boxing history. Of course, not everyone will agree with these rankings, and these 5 victories only scratch the surface of Marciano's incredible career. His legacy as an undefeated heavyweight champion is a testament to his unparalleled determination, heart, and power. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of Rocky Marciano's most notable wins. Have a great night.